So are you thinking about buying a home? Stop. I'm going to give you several reasons these are homes you absolutely should not buy under any circumstances. From hidden disasters to location nightmares, this video could save you tens of thousands of dollars. Let's get into it. So number one on the list are homes owned by an LLC or that have been recently flipped. Now, not all of them, but some instances this can be a total disaster. I've had clients numerous times look at homes that look great on the MLS. Trust me, I get it. Looking through Zillow and Realtor.com, the photos look great. The people we hire has a lot to do with that. We pay photographers hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on each house that we list personally to make the house look great. Because if it doesn't look good when you're scrolling on your phone, you're not gonna wanna come out and take a look at it. Hello? But be wary, because listing agents, just like myself, this is one thing that we do to get you to the house to check it out. But when you get to the house to check it out, there could be several things that you need to look for. On this list is quick, cheap renovations. Look, to an investor or a company that owns that property, this house is just a number on an Excel spreadsheet. That's it. It's black and white business. To you, it's where you're gonna lay your head at night, so it's a very personal thing. So you have a little conflict of interest, right? They may put in a nice coat of paint, fix some things up to make it look great, lipstick on a pig. But when you start looking at it, especially for a second time, if you go through there more than once, you're all in awe the very first time. Go through it again a second time. Take a look at it. You're going to find lots of little things. Even just recently, last weekend, I went through a house and it was a flip. Of course, things that just don't even make sense. Granite edges weren't adding up. And you get to the kitchen and the cabinets aren't closing. If they're not flush, that's an issue. Recently, we went through a house that they did a quick flip on it. And the cabinets were painted on the outside, fantastic. You opened them up and on the inside they weren't. Like, what is that? That is just a quick flip, somebody coming in. It's contractors that don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about the people that are gonna be living in there. They're just there to get a quick paycheck on a Friday and get the heck out of there. So those things will add up. Another thing you can look for is on the electrical outlets. Sometimes they'll just spray texture over it and paint it along with, they don't even have the care or the wherewithal to take the electrical outlet off the plug and then tape around it, do the job correctly, and then you put the electrical outlet cap back on and everything looks nice and neat. So again, quick flip, something you need to be wary of, especially when it comes to just putting quick little fixes on things. Be on the lookout. So there's limited transparency sometimes when an LLC owns a house. They don't know anything about the house. I know there's been several times we've had investors buy houses. They haven't even stepped foot in the house. The numbers on the home made sense to them financially on a spreadsheet or whatever in their software program. So they don't care as long as the numbers add up and they've done a quick view of the property and it doesn't need a bunch of, major things like either foundation repair, we'll get on that later, roof, AC, total renovations. If the numbers add up, they're able to just pull the trigger on it and say, hey, look, sight unseen, we're gonna buy this property, get our guys in there, flip it, turn it around. Next thing you know, they're sitting with a fat paycheck and you're sitting with a potential headache on your hands. Inflated prices on flip properties. So the main term you need to be aware of here is ARV, after repair value. And wholesalers will pump all these homes out to potential investors out there in the market. I get emails every single day from wholesalers trying to push their product out with inflated ARV values. So again, as an investor, you're looking to buy a property, and if the ARV looks good from what these people are saying, you don't live in the area, you're just a financial backer coming in from either out of the city or out of the state. You don't care about any of that stuff. You're just, hey, do the numbers make sense? Good, buy it, we'll flip it around. And a lot of times, those properties will hit the market with an inflated price value. Now, a home is really only as good as an appraiser says it is, so at the end of the day, they will determine the fair market value for that property, unless you're paying cash, obviously. But I will tell you, this is a major sticking point. A lot of times, those ARV numbers are inflated on the front side, which means when you go to purchase it on your side, it's gonna be a big headache and a fight and haggle over negotiations on that contract sales price. So warranty concerns are another thing with a fix and flip property. A lot of times, unless it's a third-party warranty, those guys aren't gonna stand behind any home warranty. They'll say it is, and then when you try to actually use something or something breaks in the house within that home warranty, if it's not done by a third party, good luck trying to track it down. I've seen it time and time again. So my recommendation, no matter who you use, if you're gonna buy a flip property, because again, they're not all bad, just some things you need to look out for, but aim for a third-party warranty, somebody that's totally disassociated with that home ownership, let them handle it. Let's talk structural shortcuts, because again, we've seen it time and time again where they're gonna come in, they don't know the local codes or enforcements or city. If they're doing things on the inside of the house, you think the city of, let's say, San Antonio is going to be walking around checking to make sure that things are getting handled on the inside that are done to code? No, a lot of times you're getting people in there that are just turn and burn, get in there, get out as quick as you can, because at the end of the day, it's all numbers. Days on the market are numbers, and all those add up. You can get in, do a quick fix, in and out. That's more revenue in their pocket and potential more, again, issues on your end. Number 2 on the list, historic homes. Now, what do I mean by that? There are several things, and yes, while they're beautiful to look at, and we looked at maybe buying a historic home in the past as well, you have the historic homes that are on the beautiful tree-lined streets. There's several of them, especially here in the Texas area, San Antonio specifically. You got the King William area, you have Alamo Heights, just gorgeous historic homes, but there could be lots of issues that lie behind that historic home designation. Number 1, higher maintenance costs. Obviously, it's an older home, so they're going to be higher maintenance costs to maintain that home in its current state. You're not a brand new home where there's a lot more things. A lot of times you're going to have to retrofit. It could be electrical, either knob and tube wiring or things of that nature. So just know there's going to be a much higher maintenance cost on a historic home if you elect to go that route. If you do have to repair something, you have sometimes restrictions on renovations to be able to do that. There's a lot of historic home designations that you have to go through to check off. It's almost like getting an architectural control committee done when you go to do those renovations, or like in a new build construction area. Your home has to be approved by the ACC. Same thing here. There are historical designations that are set up, and they are very, very picky. Basically, think an HOA on steroids. Trust me, it's a battle that you may not be up for, especially if you want to renovate the outside of that house in a historical designation. Energy efficiency. So recently we went to a home in San Antonio where had some clients interested in, living in the King William area, which is a very nice, beautiful area downtown. If you ever get a chance to come to San Antonio, highly recommend you check it out. Good restaurants down there too. So we went, and the windows, obviously, you're not going to have, double pane, low E windows in most of those homes anyways. There was 3 or 4 layers of caked over paint on the windowsills, and it was crickety, or trying to open up the windows, you couldn't quite get it, you're pounding on it to get it to open up. So just know those are some of the things that can lead to, a lot of times you're not going to have like nice spray foam insulation in those homes, right? They're going to have the bare minimum, or what they had at the time. So great, beautiful homes, but just know that you may have a higher than anticipated electrical bill when that time comes. You've purchased property due to those things like either insulation or outdated systems, and especially on the windows. There could be some hazardous materials in that house as well. So look, any home built before 1978 has to have a lead-based warning. So you have that. It's kind of like a catch-all for that, a form that you'll fill out, the seller will fill out, and then you as the buyer, you have to fill it out acknowledging that the home was built before 1978, and the lead-based pamphlet that your agent will give you that goes along with that, so you can take a look at what the risks are regarding lead-based paint. But I will tell you that there could be other things like asbestos. Obviously, back in the day, that was okay. Now they don't use that material. So that could be another thing. We talked about knob and tube wiring earlier. That's another outdated electrical thing that we have. We actually sold a home in Floresville, which is in South Texas, not that long ago, and they had knob and tube wiring in there. So best obviously to have, an electrical inspector check all those things out, or get an electrician in there to see, where they can improve. But, just expect some of those things if you are looking at the historic homes to be in those areas. There could be a potential low resale value for a historic home. What do I mean by that? It's a niche market, right? There's a lot more people that are looking for either a home in the city or a home in the suburbs with a short commute to get to their work downtown. Not saying a historic home can't have that, but, look, at the end of the day, you're probably not going to stay in that home forever. The average is between 5 to 7 years. So when you go to resell that, unless it is, top of the line shape, you may have a longer days on the market scenario when you're looking for somebody to come buy that home off of you. You're just, we've seen it before. I can check on the MLS and go through and scroll through. Days on the market tend to be a little bit higher for historic homes. So number 3 can be kind of controversial, and I have kids, so I say this with a gentle touch. But homes located right next to schools. And I mean homes that are directly located next to schools, whether the backyard, backs up to a playground or school grounds, or especially if you have a driveway that goes off right directly next to a school, I would absolutely stay away from those properties. Here's why. Number 1, traffic congestion. Have you seen the car lines at any elementary school or even middle school? Holy cow, I feel like nobody takes the bus anymore. All the parents are lined up, sometimes an hour or two in advance. you really want those people blocking your driveway or impeding traffic in and around? I don't think so. Major congestions in the morning and afternoon would be a major red flag for me if I was looking at buying a home next to a school. Number 2, noise pollution. Again, we've got 4 kids. I get it, but they are loud. And can you imagine, you open the door to go relax and enjoy a nice cup of coffee in the morning and the kids are on the playground? Or how about the school bells ringing on the outside? Yeah, that is a real factor that you're gonna need to understand if you're gonna pick a home right next to a school. There's gonna be those nuances. Number 3, limited privacy in and around school zones. So, there's going to be people driving around. Like, there's going to be, especially if there's any ball fields in and around that area, you're going to have people always around. So you're not going to have privacy. Really, there's going to be people in and around, eyeballs everywhere in your backyard, looking around your front yard, or, if you're trying to get in and out of your driveway, especially next to a school. So there's going to be a lot more people. There's just a lot more traffic and population in general around a school center. You can just factor on that being the case in and around schools if you're going to live there. Parking problems, especially on Friday nights. So what I mean by that is football is huge here in Texas, especially obviously in the fall. So any kind of event, it could be basketball, whatever, but I'm just picking football because a lot of times the stands get packed and there's overflow. Parking lots get full. Where are they going to park? They're going to park on the streets right outside there. So if you're going to pick a home that's right next to school, just know that may impact you. I've seen a lot of people, especially around here where we live, put up privacy fences that, kind of run adjacent to the schools because there's either soccer fields or there's football. And not only that, during the school week, Monday through Friday, you have that going on. But then on the weekends, you've got, Little League football, you've got softball, you've got baseball, all those things happening, especially soccer now taking off. It's nonstop, 7 days a week, even outside of summer, obviously, but you're gonna have that going if you're gonna pick a house that's right there near school's area. Declining appeal, and I will tell you firsthand, we've had a house listed right next to a school and it sat there forever, days on the market, and the number 1 complaint was that it was right next to a school. So we had to drop the price immensely to get there. Investor that was doing a new construction didn't get that much money back on his, initial investment just because it was right next to the school. He thought it was going to be a great idea to maybe put it there, easy for the kids to walk across the street. Not so much. Not a whole lot of people were excited about that because it was right next to the school. End of the day, buyer got a heck of a deal and the investor lost more money than they wanted to just because it was right next to that school zone. Number 4, personal experience. Do not get a home near an airport. Let me tell you why. Constant noise. I will never forget, I was 25 years old living in San Antonio, Texas, and we had a nice rental house, me and 6 other roommates, right next to the San Antonio airport. Rent was cheap, and so was my sleep, because as soon as 5 o'clock started happening in the morning, especially if the wind was out of the north, that traffic nonstop, right after another, right over the house. Aircraft noise can be unbearable at times, especially if the flight path is right over your home. Just know you're gonna hear that roar and the thrust of the engines nonstop. People say you get used to it. Maybe. I didn't. So some people say there's poor air quality. I wasn't that super close to the airport to experience the poor air quality, but you kind of, that smell you get when you're walking down the jet bridge to get to the plane. You kind of smell that jet fuel, things like that. Again, I don't know. I wanted to put this in here because it could be a thing. I've heard people talk about it before in the past. I haven't had any clients experience that. I didn't personally experience that. But just know if you're near an airport, you could have that from, either, the aircraft or other kind of, the buses going in and out or all the cars that are driving in and out of the parking lots or picking up passengers at the airport. Just know that it could be a thing. Stressful disruptions. And it kind of goes back to number 1 like I'm talking about. So there's been times when I was getting ready to drift off to sleep, woke up because the plane was going overhead. Or times I would hit snooze and I couldn't wait to go back to sleep for those 9 additional minutes and a plane was taking off. And I was like, well, I know I'm not going to go back to sleep. So yeah, you're going to have the disruptions, constantly. And again, depending on what types of plane are landing, it could be even louder than others. There could be potential restricted development on your property. Now, again, local zones are going to dictate a lot of this, but there could be restrictions if you wanted to do something from a height perspective on your home, depending on what kind of zoning restrictions they have with flight paths and things like that. There's a lot that goes into that, more than we can cover in this video, but just know that that could be a thing if you're in the flight path, especially, that you're going to want to take a look at. So if you're thinking about something, if there's a great deal on a house that you're absolutely in love with right next to an airport, those are things you're going to want to get checked out in that inspection period. And kind of like the whole limited buyer thing with the school district, same thing with airports. And it could be, really anything major like that. So airports or railways or heavy congestion freeways. Those are things, just a limited buyer pool. If there's a lot of noise coming from something, no matter what, and it's constant, it's gonna be something that you're absolutely gonna have to get used to stay there. If not, again, I know my sleep improved whenever we moved out of that house when a rental was up. So just know that's one thing that you're gonna have to deal with if you're looking at that. So is it worth the price of a lower priced home? Or maybe if you're going to sell it, limited buyer pool on the sell side for the buyers. I don't know, it can be a tough call, tough judgment. Number 5, just touched on a little bit ago, noise pollution. So anything like railroads or freeways, big time deal. We've had clients before in the past, especially on I-10, which runs from the East Coast to the West Coast of the United States. But the property was cheaper because it's right next to I-10. Actually, they were a little bit off I-10, but you could see it from their home. And then especially depending on which way the wind blew, it was literally nonstop, constant noise of the semi trucks and cars going up and down. So literally that was part of almost like a white noise in the background. You were having a conversation outside and that noise from all the traffic was taking place in the background all day long and into the evening. And there could be some safety risks along, like if you're right next to a busy roadway, obviously more vehicles, faster traffic, could be car accident. So I mean, we see stories sometimes on the news in the morning that, you know, a car went through a privacy fence and into somebody's yard because, or and worse, into somebody's house because they were so close to the road. So obviously it's not the people that are living in the homes, it's not their fault, but you can, you know, a driver could lose control. You know, that's something that can happen and we do see it from time to time. Nobody wants that, you know, it's just a risk that you have to take living that close to a major roadway. And honestly, another byproduct of that is reduced use outside. So your yard availability, you may not want to be out there a lot of times if it's loud or there's a lot of cars going back and forth. You know, it's honestly, it's not safe. I mean, we live in a rural area and sometimes we'll bring our kids in if our neighbors are shooting or they're hunting on their land. So it's just one of those things. Obviously they're not shooting at our kids, but you never know, accidents can happen, right? So that's just something to take, you know, concern of. You know, are you going to be out there a whole lot, or you want the kids playing on the playground in the backyard or playing football, you know, or entertaining by the pool if there's a busy roadway going on? And again, maybe you'll get used to it. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but we've just seen it time and time again. And to wrap it up there, it's resale challenges. And we've touched on it with some of the other big things there, but it is an issue. You know, you're gonna have probably longer days on the market unless you wanna drop the price or you wanna hit the market below market value or perceived market value for when you go to list your home. It's probably gonna sit there for a while, which is fine if, you know, if the numbers work out and it makes sense for you. But just know whoever you hire to sell that house, they're gonna tell you the same thing. It's gonna sit on the market a little bit longer because you have that issue with either yard noise or, you know, noise going around your yard or, you know, around the area. It's just a big thing. And especially kind of like if you live near the fire department, you're hearing sirens go off all the time. It's great that they're nearby, but you have to deal with the sirens nonstop. And again, you may get used to it. I never really did. So you will probably disagree with me on this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyways. Homes near a lake, an ocean, or any really body of water. Let me tell you why. Number 1, flood risks. More than likely, especially any kind of body of water here, I know in Texas, you know, there's several lakes and streams and rivers. So you have to carry flood insurance if your home, your structure of your home falls within the floodplain. And there's different floodplains. You know, if you have any questions on that or where you can actually find out if you are or not, you know, send me an email. I send that out all the time to our clients. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of people, especially ones that are living near water, figure out if they're in the floodplain or not. Because you're gonna have to carry flood insurance, especially if you're gonna carry a note on that. And we've seen it range all the way from several $100s a year up to $3,000 a year. So it really just depends. It's a whole multifaceted thing, but that's one thing you're gonna have to carry, especially if you have a note on that home, is flood insurance on that property. So near bodies of water, you're going to have more than likely pest issues because, you know, everything's near water, right? There's more bugs near the water, snakes, especially here in Texas. Those issues are there. So just know you may have a higher chance of having pest control issues if you are in and around a body of water. And I get it. It's not like, well, I'm not going to let a bug keep me from buying a house. I understand that. Just know that you're going to have more issues with that in and around those areas. So tourist traffic. So popular lakes and rivers bring lots of people usually, especially on the weekends and on the holidays, especially the holidays. We used to have a lake house that we would go to, and on the weekends, and from like 5 o'clock on Friday all the way to like Sunday afternoon, then people would kind of start to go home. But the weekends, forget it. We wouldn't even put the boat in the water because it's just chaotic. The people that are out there, a lot of them are drinking. Not all of them, but a lot of them are drinking. It's just, it can be a little unsafe. So just know, but that's just the water we're talking about. Think of all the grocery stores and restaurants around those areas are going to get super packed, especially during the spring, summer months in those areas. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're looking at getting a lake house, it's going to get crazy packed during those times. And there's some additional cost too, obviously, that you don't have with the traditional single family residential home on land near the water. There could be, extra dock fees if you don't have a private dock there. If you have one that you have to, do the boat launch, there could be higher HOA fees in general that are there. Erosion control, things like that, depending if you're on a constant water lake or not. So just those types of things can add up, and something that you should be aware of if that beachfront or lakefront property is a must-have on your list. So the last one, it seems pretty simple, but I do want to touch on it, and that is homes with structural issues. And just last week, we had a home fall out of escrow because of structural issues, and I want to talk about that. So on both sides of transactions, sellers and buyers, we've had issues with homes, especially in and around the San Antonio area, with structural issues. The soil is not always the same, and there can be, pushing and pulling of soils depending on how damp it is versus the foundation, and obviously that's going to cause issues. But the repairs on foundations can be extremely costly, and I'm talking $10, $15, $20, $25,000, and maybe even north of that. The bid that we just got to fix a property out in Seguin, Texas was $20,000, and they weren't even digging up the floor in the house. They were putting exterior piers around the outside. The issue with foundation is, even if there is issues and you see cracks along the walls, especially on 45-degree angles, those are problems. They're settling, and there's foundation issues. But once you get to foundation issues, when you start playing and putting something underneath and jacking up the house, you have to think that has to impact other parts of the house that are being just fine. A lot of times people think that they're gonna fix the issues, bring the foundation back up, and it's gonna make that crack close and everything's gonna be fine. Just a little bit of paint, you're gonna be good. Well, if you move something else has to give, right? So just know, I would not touch anything around the foundation. So costly repairs with structural stuff. So what do I mean by that? And we just had an estimate done last week on a home that we were getting in Central Texas, and it was $19,500. And I've seen it up to close to $30,000 depending on how much work. They'll bore under the house, sometimes in the home, tear the floor up, dig down several feet, and then, literally put piers in the ground to bring that back up. But if something is falling down and you bring that back up, that's going to affect other parts of the home, especially nearby where those issues are. So just costly repairs, and it can get very pricey very quick. Obviously, there's some safety concerns. If you elect to not do anything and you purchase a home that could have structural issues, then, depending on how bad it is, you could have a wall collapse, you could have other issues, doors won't close, or other things like that. Just could be major issues down the line. And even with funding, some lenders won't even fund on houses if the foundation issues or the structural issues are that severe. And obviously there's escalating damage. Structural issues just don't go away if you don't address them. They get worse over time. So even if it's not today, tomorrow, or next week, you're gonna have to deal with it at some point in the very near future, because you're gonna risk further damage to the home moving forward. And we see it time and time again. It could be low resale value, and that's been the theme, right? Low resale value. So everybody in theory wants to buy their house low and sell high. You have a less likely chance of that happening regardless of your current market conditions if you go after one of these houses in most instances. We've seen it, in the decade plus of real estate that we've been doing with our clients that we have, hundreds and hundreds of people that we've helped. You're just gonna have an issue with that stuff moving forward. And this will help you save money if you're looking at buying a home. Again, no matter what you're trying to buy, either first time home buyer, you're looking to scale up or scale down, just know this could be a great reminder to save you tens of thousands of dollars on that purchase. So I hope you guys found that video very useful. Again, love to provide knowledge. Real estate can be tricky. We try to make it simplified here with the Robert Anthony Group. If you have any questions, my information is in the description below, as well as up here on the screen. Happy to help you with anything real estate here in the state of Texas. Our team actually services the whole country. So if you're looking to relocate in any part, we can absolutely help you. Again, just reach out, happy to help. And if you thought this video was useful, here's one right here that I think you're gonna find great enjoyment out of as well. We'll see you next time. Take care.